What is up, guys, and welcome to the Meeple Minded podcast, the podcast where we talk all things tabletop gaming. My name is Jason.
And I'm James.
And I'm Ant.
How are we doing this week, guys?
We are good.
Good.
Yeah, good. I mean, I've
Is
seen you
someone
recently.
back at work now?
I am back at work now.
Yeah, he's been miserable for the past week because he's been back at work.
Ugh.
He threw his toys out the pram last week and didn't want to record because he was back at work, and I'm totally blaming it on him. Despite the fact he didn't say that at all. It's fun.
I was at work,
lies.
so that's kind of my fault as well.
You have work, that's understandable.
What does he have then?
Well, he has work, but he finishes much earlier than you.
That's fair.
So he's got no excuse whatsoever.
It's not a lie. It's a lie.
It's a lie. But well, I mean, again, another little peek behind the curtain. We haven't actually sat down and in front of a mic for, what, 2-ish weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So how's it been? Been up to much other than just work?
Working and gaming.
Working and gaming.
Working and gaming.
It's the correct answer. Very, very good. We have actually played a few games
That needs to be a
recently, which has been
t-shirt.
nice.
Working and gaming.
Yeah,
needs to be a
working
t-shirt.
and gaming. Gaming and working. Has to be that way, though. Gaming and working.
Yeah.
Value of importance.
And then working to pay for gaming.
Yes, exactly. Gaming, working, arrow back to gaming.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect stuff. But yes, it's been a couple of weeks. We've played a few games, and I've been enjoying those games. We're going to talk about one of them today.
We are.
Which, for anyone who's not an idiot, has probably seen the title, so they know what we're going to be talking about. But anything else that's been happening in the last 2 weeks that you want to talk about? James, you have gone back to work.
I have gone back to work.
How has it been?
It's Easter.
Yes.
Busy.
Yes. Delivering Easter eggs, I'm guessing.
Yes.
And lots of alcohol.
Not so much on the alcohol front.
Oh, okay. So that surprises me. I thought it'd be more a lot of parents consoling the fact that they've spent their entire life earnings on Easter eggs and then having to get over the fact that they've had to have the kids for 2 weeks.
That'll come next week once the kids have gone back to school.
Of course, yeah. I've got my little one this week. It's actually been quite nice. I've had a nice relaxed week off of work. I'm going back next week, though. Not looking forward to that. You never know. I might come down with some deadly disease that'll be more enjoyable. So,
Well, that's one way of putting it, Jason.
yeah. Well, it definitely feels like that way sometimes with my work. I'm not going to lie. But you've been working.
Just
Anything
working,
else
mate.
going on?
Just gaming.
No. Oh.
Literally nothing, mate. And counting the days to Expo.
Yep. Well, I mean, we have got some very good news. We paid for our Essen hotels last night.
We have. And the flights
we
all done.
paid for the flights last night, didn't we?
We
We're
are.
doing the hotel tonight
We are.
because I believe we're changing our accommodation. James, you're not joining us in Essen this year. Change of plans for you.
Unfortunately not.
Poor form, sir. Poor
Yeah,
form.
No, I agree completely. It's poor. That just sums up the reason I am not going. It's poor.
It's you've got to buy a new car.
I have got to.
We've known for a little while that your car was knackered and it's long gone. But
Yes, so unfortunately the money that was going towards Essen is now going towards a new car.
Needs
So-
must as always. But you are going to Expo, so it's not like you're missing out on everything,
Yes.
are
Yeah.
you? So
So officially, we can say that now. It's now on record. James has said that he is not going to Essen so he can buy a car. So when he tries to use that excuse next year,
But in all fairness, I didn't go last year because I needed to buy a car. So
Yeah,
I do feel for James on this one.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if we did speak about this the other night, it was if we actually do what we said we were going to do this year, which is just part of the reason why I'm not going, is that if we actually book it at the correct time
Mm-hmm.
and get it reserved, then it's locked in and I don't have a choice.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the plan, I think, when we get back, is just immediately book for next year, even if it's not a
Absolutely.
case of paying straight away. As long as we get it booked in, we get it at the cheaper rates and what have you. So that is
Exactly, mate.
le plan.
Closer accommodation as well.
Yes, indeed, because we're staying quite a way away, I think.
We
We're
are.
going to be about 10 miles from the venue, I believe. So hiring a car and all of that just
Exactly.
adds
Easy.
to the cost.
Easy going, mate.
And all that kind of stuff. But yeah, really looking forward to it. It is going to be my first Essen. So you'll be the one showing me around, Anne, because you have been to Essen
Yeah, but they
before.
did change it around last year, so it probably won't be
Poor excuse.
to what Mike said of
Oh,
what it was when I went.
And you have now been nominated as the guide.
I'm the guide.
You are the guy.
Okay, fair enough. You're the driver, though.
I am the driver. I'm okay with that. I mean, God help you. I've got to drive in
I
a
ain't
foreign
driving in a
country,
different country, no.
with you in the car.
No chance.
So the secret,
You're driving on the wrong side.
the secret plan. As a kid, I went to France with my parents, and my dad actually did that.
Oh,
So
really?
I know not to do that.
Fine.
But James, you could bear witness to my evil scheme here. Is I'm driving the car.
Mhm.
So when Ant buys all these lovely games, he's going to put them in the boot of the car. I'm going to be driving, so we'll have a minor accident on the passenger side.
Hang about, who's buying the games here?
You're inevitably going to be buying games. Let's be honest now. Aren't
I
you?
will be buying games.
I will be buying games as well.
No, you'll be so. What you need to do, Anne, is you need to put some games in the car because you won't risk an accident that might damage the games.
That might damage the games, yeah. Or the side that the games are on anyway.
That's problematic.
That'll be his concern when it does happen. He'll be like, the games! No, nothing like, Ant, you're right.
Yeah, Ant mangled in the passenger seat. The games!
The game, all the cards are out, the insert's broken.
It would be. It's like, oh my God, you're okay. I'm fine. I'm not talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't let him near the Autobahn.
Okay.
The unrestricted.
We might have to get to the airport. You never know. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. You know what'll happen? We'll get some clapped out old banger that won't do more than like 70 miles. I know in our luck.
But yeah, at the time of recording, though, Expo's only 2 months away.
Yeah.
So it's coming up close.
Yeah. I'm very much looking forward to it. I really am. I did have a look at the list of games that are potentially going to be there, and I was weirdly, and I think I mentioned this to you, James. It's like this time last year, I remember there was all this talk. There was talk of Distilled, there was talk of Earth, and all these big, amazing games that you needed to buy. I've not really heard that much this year.
No, I know there's a few stands that are bigger than they were last year, but I like you said, I've not heard of anything exclusively coming out for the Expo. I don't, unless James has heard anything.
No, I've not heard anything, but you guys are more got your finger on the pulse for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I've been particularly looking for it, but at the same time, normally there'll be something. There'd be some buzz. And there just doesn't seem to be just yet.
I would imagine closer to the time, maybe.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I'm hoping so. Especially this year when I'm going to be going with a little bit more money than I have before. So, yeah.
So he'll be buying the games for Expo then.
Obviously. That was always going to happen. It's asking James to buy games is like trying to get blood out of the
But he did
stone.
last year, in all fairness.
He did. There were some unmatched sets, which he knew I would buy if he didn't. So I'm actually quite surprised he did. So
we'll see. We'll have to try and see if we can find him some Nemesis add-ons.
Yeah. Dear Awaken Realm,
excellent.
Please ensure that you are at UK Games Expo because we want to fleece one of our friends for you, free of charge. But yes, should we jump into our game highlight? Because I think we've got a few things to say about this game. Okay. I don't know, but we'll see. Let's go for it.
Okay.
Okay, guys, so the game that we are talking about today is, of course, TerrorScape. So, what is TerrorScape? Well, TerrorScape is a one versus all asymmetric horror game published by Ice Makes in 2023. It is designed for 2 to 4 players, aged 14 and up, with an estimated playtime of between 30 and 45 minutes. In the game, players take on the roles of stranded survivors or a killer on a mission. The aim of the game is for the team of survivors to cooperate to escape the mansion by searching for 5 keys or repairing a radio and making an emergency call to the outside world. Whereas the killer, shockingly, needs to locate the survivors by paying close attention to any noise their actions may make or by using various skills to hunt them down and help them cease to exist in this mortal curl. That's a very family-friendly way of saying kill, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that is the aim of the game. James, what comes in the box when you buy TerrorScape?
Okay, in the box, you will find one screen with a built-in dice tower, 6 killer miniatures, 5 survivor miniatures, 2 game boards, 3 killer boards, 5 survivor boards, 39 killer skill cards, 45 item cards, 2 player aids, assorted tokens and tiles, 56 variant cards, 4 engraved dice, a coloured ring, a rulebook, a killer booklet, a survivor guide, and a plastic organiser.
Very nice. Plastic insert.
Plastic inserts.
Sold. This game's getting top marks. It's got a board game
just for the insert.
It's only a joke. I don't take that into account. Well, I do, but not that much. But yes, TerrorScape. Very interesting name of the game. I have a feeling that there might be some kind of violence involved. and some kind of horror aspect from that name. So is the theme and appearance of the game replicated by its name, do you reckon?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, excellent. Fantastic. Top marks there. So no, theme and appearance, guys, what do you think of the theme and how do you think it comes across on the game boards and components themselves?
I think this game screams it's basically what it's trying to say to you. It is a horror survival game, you know.
Yep.
From the miniatures of the killers, I mean, like the basic intro killer is basically Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's the butcher one, right?
That's the butcher, yeah.
That's the butcher, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair comment.
Big dude running around with a chainsaw.
Yeah. And what about you? Thoughts on the theme and appearances?
Pretty much what James said, and the title goes really well because, again, it's a horror game, so the terror part is there, and as survivors, you have to escape, so put the two together, TerrorScape. This game is very heavily based on a video game called, what's it called now? Dead by Daylight.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if any of you two know of it. There is a Dead by Daylight board game which came out just before this, but I think this version is a bit more better for its theme than the actual video game that it's based on, which we'll probably go into later.
Yeah, much like the Nemesis franchise, it's like heavily influenced by Alien, even though there was Alien board games which are nowhere near as good at replicating Alien as Nemesis.
Nowhere near.
So it's it's an interesting one on that. I didn't really know. I don't know much about the video game side of it. I've heard of it. I know the name, but I don't know much about it. But for me, I sort of look at it along the lines of like a horror movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
That kind of stuff. And I think for me, appearance-wise, I think it's done really, really well. Like just going on the boards themselves, you've got that creepy old mansion with all the really nice decor around the house and the gardens, stuff like that. It's straight out of a horror movie.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, the highlight for this game is that monstrous 3D screen between the killer and the survivors' boards.
Yeah, most definitely.
Which, as James said in the components, actually doubles as a dice tower, which is pretty
nice
pretty
little
cool.
add-on for it, yeah.
But it's to talk about the screen. It's not small, is it? It's a good 30 centimeters tall.
It's definitely good enough for the job it needs to do.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of think about hidden movement games like Beast and stuff. You know, you normally get a tiny little
that's right, yeah.
Shroud which sit in the correct way and you can
kind of lean
over and see what's going on. Whereas this, you can't do that. It's nice and tall, and as I said, it adds to that sort of
it adds to the theme as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it is a 3D representation of the mansion itself.
Yeah,
towering over the boards, which serves the purpose, like I said, with the dice tower, and then you've got the central player characters.
Yeah, so it's not just a divider. Like I said, you've got the dice tower attached to it. You've got the components part for the top, which will help the killer know what survivors they've been used and stuff. So it's literally not just there for the divide. There are other components parts to it that help for the game. And
to me, that sort of segues me on nicely to talk about the quality of the game, because I feel the quality in this is so very, it's
over the top, but it's good.
See, I'm not sure I agree with that. I don't think it is over the top.
No?
I genuinely feel like this game, is kind of perfect for what it needed to be.
Okay.
Like, I don't feel like it was overproduced, but I don't feel like it was underproduced either.
Sure,
I think it is spot on where it needs to be. They could have gone far worse, let's be honest. They could have been taller, so much more. They could have done far less. So for me, the quality of it is slap bang where it needs to be. We'll talk about the price of the game later, but for me, just on the visuals of the game and the component quality, it is bang on where it needs to be.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with this. It's going to be a table draw if you ever set this thing up, like you said, with that screen. Any room it is set up in, it is going to attract people's attention because what is that?
Yeah.
I remember you saying something because you first saw this at Essen, is that
Essen
right?
2022. That's when they had the prototypes for these,
Nice. Was it all set out on the table like this, or was it different?
There was 4 copies of it, and then it's literally near enough the same thing. I think because it's done by a Chinese company, I believe. So the translation for the cards and the boxes were a bit I think Simon saw it and pointed out a few translation issues sort of thing. Okay. But apart from that, it's pretty much what was there. to be honest.
Okay, that's always good then. I mean, I can't really say I've seen any of those translation issues in the games we've played. Hopefully that's something they picked up.
I think it was just a spelling wise, like when they had the back of the box, they were like, "Oh, you play as roles of characters," and roles was spelt as in rolling dice, not roles as in ROLLE sort of thing.
Right,
So
okay.
it wasn't anything major, but yeah, just little bits, which obviously they've had corrected since.
Yes, like I said, I haven't personally seen it, so therefore I'm assuming that has been dealt with. But quality wise for you, Ant, any highlights for you that you want to talk about?
Pretty much like you said, it's all about that centerpiece. I love when I first saw it, I never knew anything about a dice tower or anything added to that, so that is definitely the meat and bone of the board game really itself, isn't it? Is that centerpiece.
I love the miniatures.
Yeah,
I'm just going to say that I think the miniatures are beautiful.
Yeah, the miniatures kind of sum up what I was saying earlier about not being too overproduced. Like, they're not lacking in detail, but they're also not brimming with detail. You know, they're not Games Workshop stick detail in for detail's sake that you're never going to see. You know, they convey what they are. You can see what they are. You hold them up to your eyes. You can see the detail.
But there's still enough there for you to actually go more. It's more than I know what this is. Actually, this is a really nice little model with, like you said, without it being over the top.
Yeah, and again, you can tell which characters are which.
Yeah,
you know, just by arm's length looking at them. That's that person. It's easy, which means they've done their job. They've conveyed the message. So miniatures fantastic. One thing I do want to highlight is actually the dice in the game.
The dice are, good point.
Are beautiful.
Yeah, good point.
Really, really nice. You've sort of got that nice indented paintwork.
Yeah, it's like a dark red on a metallic black, isn't it? Sort of thing.
Yeah,
it's lovely,
and not just the numbers. You've got that really nice intricate pattern
that goes around the numbers, isn't it?
Well.
Yes, yeah.
They look absolutely. It's really hard to try and explain what they are. But imagine, like you said, dark metallic dice.
Yeah.
Indented to a nice depth as well.
Yeah.
Filled with a bright red, vibrant paint. And then, like I said, you've got that nice intricate sort of, I don't want to say floral detail because it's not like flowers or anything like that.
It's like a frame, isn't it, around it, isn't it?
For anyone who's been to like a stately home or something like that, it is like that kind of like embossing around ceilings and pillars.
Yeah. And they are beautiful, and they've got a nice weight to them as well. I know we don't roll them with our hands and they go in the dice tower, but they've got a nice clatter to them as well. So I think they are very, very good quality. I think just overall the quality of this production is absolutely fantastic. I'd push it. I'd go exceptional. I say that. Okay. I reckon the production of this is exceptional.
Okay.
So there you go, James. Final thoughts on the quality?
Just brilliant overall. Yeah, I'd echo what you said there. It's like they've obviously put a lot of effort into producing this game.
Yeah, 100%. And it's your game. You happy with it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Right, so the next one, we're going to have to talk to you about it because I've not personally taught this game. I had a little flick through the rule book and stuff earlier.
Yeah.
But for you're the one who's learnt this game and has taught it to others. How did you find the rule book and how do you find the setup of the game?
Setup is easier than the rules to start with. I mean, I think like we played this last night and there were still a few things we still need to like go back and check. But the game provides you with what you can and can't do with the little player aids for the killer as well as the survivors because they both play incredibly different, don't they? Absolutely different with the two. If you can wrap your head around that and what certain cards are trying to say you can do, because like I said, we were not too sure about discarding cards or what cards we could use at the same time sort of thing. It's not that hard to teach, I think, depending on what killer you use as well, because again, everyone has a different version of it and a different way of playing it. It's not that hard a game to teach, really.
Yeah. Cool. Was the rulebook fairly clear to understand, or did you?
Eventually.
Did you find the translations were a bit?
No, they were okay because at the back of the book, it's got some really decent FAQs at the back of it. So it does help a lot with that part if you do need it. I think that's why it comes with 3 books.
Yeah, I was about to say I quite like the fact that it comes with 2 separate handbooks, one for the survivors, one for the killers. Because
so you're not fighting over one book then, are you?
Yeah. And I would say one thing I've gathered from your teaching and playing the game quite a few times now, it's kind of a bit of a con, I guess, for the gameplay itself. As we slowly move into gameplay, but I feel that everyone kind of needs to know what they're doing before playing the game. Yeah, because once the game's going, if there is a query, it's then very hard to answer that query without giving away vital information, be it from the killer's aspect or from the survivors.
I was going to bring this up for like as a point of reference. It's like, so when we played last night, it was my first time playing as the killer. So when we're teaching and learning games, normally we don't like to information overload, you know, whereas I felt I had to go through everything that was in front of me and almost
just to make sure you're doing it right.
Almost make a list of questions to ask you before the game kicked off, because it is that sort of thing. Once the game's going, it's sort of like, oh, and I'm not sure about this.
Yeah,
you can't look over the screen to look at the information because it's like, oh, well, that breaks the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's unfortunately, I just think that's a slight problem with all hidden movement-based games.
Yes. And this is what I was saying about going back to what killer you play as well, because James played a killer that we hadn't actually used, but I hadn't used before, we hadn't used before. So, and he does play differently because the other two killers have certain cards. He doesn't have a certain card in his deck. So we had to make sure and go back and make sure that was what James was meant to do or could actually do at the time. So
I will say, I think the player aids that you get on your little sort of player board, they are very, very good. They do run you through this, followed by this, followed by this. So that side of it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, the confusion aspect is like on the actual cards.
Yeah.
Which, like you said, I can't come round and try and help you figure it out because then I'm going to see your board.
Yeah,
and if we know who's doing that next, then we won't do this move instead. So
exactly.
It is difficult, and it's like you said, it's like the player aids themselves are pretty good. It's more, well, am I interpreting the text on this card correctly? It sounds to me like I can do this, but it could also mean this. What do you guys think? It was more questions like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the word, again, because even for the survivor side, we have different terminologies like search and discover are two separate actions, but they essentially do the same thing. So you've got to wrap around your head, right? No, I'm actually doing this rather than this instead.
Yeah, because again, you can announce, because obviously you're not keeping the killer in the dark as to what you're doing. If you say, oh, I'm searching this, well, there's only 3 locations on the board that you can actually search, but you can discover everywhere.
Exactly.
So if I'm using the wrong terminology, I'm giving false information to the killer.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to know your terminology. And I did it a couple of times because search and discover to me are one and the same thing.
And
but then obviously in this game they're not.
Exactly. And the first time I actually played this game in Essen, at the time it was still COVID heavy, so we had to wear face masks.
Yeah.
And could you imagine in
a loud environment?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when the guys aboard Stupid I was with at the time asked me how it played, it was like, it's a good game, but you can't play with a face mask clearly.
No, obviously not.
The information is so muffled and whatnot. So.
Yeah. But let's. We've obviously moved on a bit onto gameplay. So the ultimate aim, let's break it down a little bit because obviously there's 2 sides to this here. You've got 1 killer and then up to 3 people playing the survivors, but there's always 3 characters on the board. If I'm correct,
2 to 4 players. So if you've got 2 players, one has to be the killer, and the other player will have to be all 3 survivors. Yeah,
and 2 players, and then one non-player character going on as well. So the object of the game for the survivors is to complete one of the 2 actions I mentioned at the start, which is fixing the radio. I think it's 5 times. Or searching for 5 hidden keys.
Yes, I am.
And the second you get the 5th key, you then have to escape, if I remember correctly.
So all the players have to get to a certain location to escape. So if there's 3 of you, if there's 2 of them there and one of them is the other end of the castle, you have to wait for that person to get in that location.
But if one person dies, game over, you lose, right?
Everyone
so obviously
loses,
that is the killer's objective, is to locate and, as I said, help them to cease to exist.
And I love that tension of this game because you can't actually damage or hurt the killer.
Yeah.
They never die in this game. It's like if you can get... So you can essentially get hurt, that's 1 hit, but if you get hit a second time, that's it, game over, full stop.
Yeah.
And I think, I've only played the survivors a couple of times, and I'm literally like, I'm such a nail-biting experience. I was like, well, I can't hurt him, so I have to hide. I have to try and see if I can get around him or be in the same room and keep quiet, sort of thing. So
I'm going to come in and say it's one of the pros I actually quite like about the survivor side is how limited you are on what you can do, because it's one action.
One action
per turn, and
moving
is an
things,
action,
isn't it?
Yeah, moving is an action. Searching is an action. Discovering isn't an action. That's just something that the survivors have to do
after all their turns.
And clearing your fear and stuff like that, because that's obviously affecting you if he does catch you. if you're scared,
yeah,
then you're rolling less dice to try and save
defend yourself. Yeah.
So, that limited action is that's it is, as it says on the thing, it's very limiting, but it does make you think, like, I know that he's 2 rooms away from me, which means he can get to me on my next turn. So if he knows where I am and I don't tell him that I've moved, I've got the risk that he could come and get me. Whereas if I say I've moved, he's then got to try and figure out where have I moved to. There's a better chance I'm not going to be survived.
Because we haven't established that the survivors always know where the killer is.
Yes.
I was literally... I was going to say, I think that is my favourite part of this. Is I've played a couple of hidden movement games now, and I like the fact that normally in most of the ones that I've played, it's a group hunting one.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas this is one
hunting a group. I like the fact that the survivors always know where the killer is and the killer has to find them.
It's good how it's the role reversed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very, very interesting aspect to the game. I'm not going to say that I like it, but I don't dislike it. It's just a bit weird. Because it's not something I'm used to. Yeah,
and the killer has its own player tokens as well. So he can think, well, all right, this one's gone here, this one's gone there. So it's not like he can have a rough idea if they choose to use those tokens, haven't they? So
see, I have found in the times that I've played as the survivors that I found it very easy to avoid the killer.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I'm sitting here going, I don't like knowing where he is, because I kind of feel like I shouldn't. If we're running around a big house and let's say I'm on the bottom floor and he's on the top floor, how the hell would I know that?
Yeah.
Unless I'm literally walking around with a mobile CCTV monitoring station in my hand, being able to watch where he is. So it's kind of a bit theme breaking, but understandable for the way the game plays.
I mean, it is. I mean, I don't know how a dual hidden movement game would actually play, where neither side actually knows for certain where the other one is.
Like battleships all over again.
Yeah.
But don't forget, you've got to mention that 2 of the killers in this box can go stealth.
See, they are, those 2 killers, for me, are where this game shines, because it deals with that one issue that I have. With regards to the movement, because at the end of their turn, if they play the right cards, they come off the board and we don't know where they are. They can reappear, I think, within a certain amount of space. I think one of them could move up to 4 spaces, and the other 2, and then reappear. It's okay, so the 4 space one's deadly because that almost gives them the entire board, depending on where they are when they disappear. But I mean that sort of leads on nicely to my next positive, which is the killers that are included in that base game. 3 of them, they are really nice and unique.
Yes.
But all of them play very, very differently, right?
Most definitely, yeah.
James, you mentioned earlier about the Butcher, which is kind of like the basic guy.
That's the starter one, isn't it? Yeah.
Which is, big beefy guy running around with a chainsaw. He's quite strong.
He's not very fast. That's his weakness. Is he's not particularly quick. He can't cover the board very quick. But he is a big lumbering guy with a chainsaw.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you played the Spectre as well.
Yes.
On one of the games we played. Which
I was trying to think what that one was called. Yeah, it is a Spectre. I was thinking like a bottle. But Spectre. She's the first one that can go stealth, but she's the one that can only disappear within 2 spaces. Oh no, 4. She's 4.
Yeah,
she's the 4. Sorry, beg your pardon.
She's the one that can jump around the board really quickly, which is her strength.
Yes.
She's not very strong in her attacks.
Yeah, her ability is more like to spread fear, and in this game, spreading fear is quite decent to do because if the survivors have enough fear, then they have less dice to roll on when an enemy attacks. So that is pretty good for as a character.
Yeah. So I think if they get 1 fear, they drop a dice. If they get 2 fear, they drop a second dice. If they get 3 fear, they make noise regardless where they move.
Where they are. So so easy for her to spot. But I do believe she has a card in her deck as well that if they have more than 2 fear, they will take damage as well.
Yes.
So that's another good one.
Yeah, that's how she does her damage, really, because like I said, she's quite a fragile killer in that sense, but deadly in her own way, which I really liked because that was the first one we went up against that had that stealth ability.
Right,
I was like, oh, now this is cool. This is really cool. And then obviously last night
we had James
to play the Murderer, which again had that ability to go stealth, but his stealth he could only move 2.
Yep.
But he was kind of the midway, wasn't he? Between the weak Spectre and the Butcher.
Yeah, he's to me, he is a combination of both.
Yes.
He's faster than the Butcher. I would argue that he's hits harder than the Butcher once he starts to level up.
Yeah.
And he can, like you said, while he can't move as far in the stealth, he still has that ability, but he has cards that do horrific damage when if he reappears in a room.
100%.
Yeah,
he's immediately like 3+ strength, isn't he? If you're in the room that he reappears in.
Yeah, and then there's the card that you unlock at level 3, which is when you reappear in a room, anyone within one space of that room is eliminated.
Yeah, it's just dead.
They just straight up die.
Which ends the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could easily say that these are the easy, medium, and hard of the board game, really, isn't it? Sort of thing.
Yeah, and like I said, they're all really nicely... There's a nice amount of variation between all of them. I think having played all 3 of them, I'm not sure I would personally choose the Butcher. Like, I quite like the challenging aspect of having those 2 stronger
I like the Butcher as a character, but it's like James says, he's very hard to play as, because again, there are times where I was in the same room as you guys and, you know, I didn't have a card to search at the time. No. I think he's very limited compared to the other 2.
Yeah. And I would just argue as a survivor who's played against the Butcher, he was hands down the easiest to beat.
He is, yeah.
Hands down the easiest to beat. Whereas I think last night was the first time we lost to a killer.
Because he leveled up and mullered us pretty much.
Yeah, because me and Ant beat you, but you were playing as the Butcher.
Yeah. So that leads me on to a question for you guys. Do you think that the game is a bit too heavily weighted with regards to who's going to win? Like, do you think it's far easier for the survivors to win and a bit more or a bit too challenging for a killer to win?
I like to think this goes both ways. So James says no, all right? But then do you remember the first time we played this game?
Yes.
And you had a specific character who found a specific card, which pretty much OP'd a certain way in the game. Yeah. I think that's where the game falters on that. So
certain combinations of cards and characters.
I believe the survivors. I think the survivors have a way better chance than a killer playing as, unless you're the murderer with that specific card, then maybe it'll be easier.
Yeah.
But I do think they have a lot more, because they have cards they discover every turn. They get more cards, even more with the the nuisance of maybe possibly making noise and finding it.
So I think I agree with you, and couple that with what I said earlier. I find it very easy to evade the killer, to basically be always on the other side of the map. So I could be discovering all the time, making loads of noise, but by the time he gets anywhere near me, I'm long gone.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's a bit more on that. But James, you say no.
I say no because to me it's balanced by the fact that the killer's only got to knock off one of the 3.
That's a fair comment. That is a fair comment. But did you not find it was a bit too hard to try and actually nail someone down? I mean, I know you've only played the killer once, and we probably didn't help the matter because you killed the non-player character, which we basically dumped in a room and
just
left
stayed
them
there pretty much.
I mean, it took you quite a long time to find them, but
it did, because I was actively hunting where I thought you 2 were.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it is, because it's a hidden movement game, obviously it is pot luck until you can get a proper beeline on someone, because you are essentially guessing where you are. And the abilities, like the ability you had with the character with the camera, where you can make noise before or after you move, is really good, because that really threw me off.
It did, but this obviously goes back to what we were saying earlier, like the wording on some of the cards could be potentially a little bit better, because there are certain items that are one use and you discard them, which is most of them. And then there's some that have like a little infinity symbol in the corner. They can be used as many times as you can. And the problem is, though, is those one use ones, some of the wording on it makes it sound like this is reusable.
Yeah.
Which is where we got a bit confused.
Yeah, because I believe there's I don't even remember, there's like an amulet card in there. And it says something about you can avoid an attack when taking damage or something. But does that mean the person in the room, or if I'm taking damage? It's not worded very well, is it?
No, exactly. So some of the wording was a little bit questionable, but, apply a little bit of logic, I guess, and actually opening our eyes, I guess, was like, well, it doesn't have an infinity symbol, therefore it's one use.
Yeah.
And that's the long and short of it.
But yeah, I mean, go on what you say. Like a lot of hidden movement games, it's sort of, it's you've got to get a beeline on someone, but especially with the murderer, it's like, once I had you.
Yeah, and that's actually going to be the next thing I'm going to mention, because I viewed that whole aspect of it, and I'm now talking about my experiences playing as the killer. For I think it was a couple of games I've done the killer for now. But like any good horror movie, and Ant, I'm sure you might know where I'm going with this, but the game feels like it has that nice build-up. In a horror movie, very rarely does everything happen straight away.
Yeah.
It's building up throughout the entire movie. And then you sort of get that, air quotes, board game equivalent of like a jump scare of he finally cottons on to where we are, and then all hell breaks loose. He's got a beeline to, kill that person before he loses him again. So you get that sort of constant tension throughout the game, but then once he's got you, the game goes from 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds.
This probably leads me on as the killer to actually my favourite mechanic, because I think it directly contributes to what you're saying there, is the level up system.
Yeah.
100%. Like, the killer starts off with the basic abilities, and his level up is determined by his deck.
Yeah.
So every turn he's drawing 3 cards. When the draw deck runs out and he has to reshuffle, that's when he levels up. And he's got I think they've got 5 levels.
Yeah.
So they are progressively getting more powerful as the deck keeps recycling.
Yeah.
And I found that playing as the survivors to effectively be like incredible pressure. It's like
we kind of want to get this done before he gets too powerful.
Yeah, because it's like every second we're not finding keys or fixing the radio, he's getting more powerful.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I mean, for me, the part when as soon as that killer goes stealth, that's when I kick my pants.
Yes.
Because I want to be like, because I am literally thinking as that survivor, I do not want him to pop in my area or one space adjacent, because I know something bad will happen if that's the case.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm literally praying when he reappears on his next turn.
He's over the other
side. That it's over somewhere,
Yeah. Or he's with someone else. Don't care about that.
So for me, that's my nail-biting experience with this game.
Nice.
The stealth, when they go stealth.
Which I did find that absolutely hilarious, because, I think I was overusing that as the killer, because I was just going stealth and just randomly popping up and aha!
That's it.
No one's here.
What do you need?
So yeah, I think for me that's one of the best things I get, and it's probably the best theme immersive part of the game is getting that slow build up to the finale. And that's the thing. This game doesn't overstay its welcome at all. It is a very, very quick game, but with that immersion that I'm talking about, I don't even know how long these games have taken.
Yeah.
It's just, it's only once we finished that I've gone, oh my God, we were only playing for 35 minutes.
Last night's game was maybe 30 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
Because he had us within,
it ended really quickly, but I actually thought you guys were going to win that, because you were doing really well at avoiding me, and it's like I could see the keys, and you were doing really good at like not focusing on one method of escape. You were really doing well at that.
Yeah, I mean, if you hadn't have popped up and managed to find the non-player character when you did, because you took them from full health to dead in one round, which was spot on what you needed to do. The next round, or once you'd finished your turn, we would have completed the radio.
Now, if I remember correctly, do correct me if I'm wrong, when you collect the keys, it is literally get to the front door and get out.
Yeah.
There's a countdown for when you fix the radio, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to survive 5 rounds for the police to show up. So that will longevate the your escape plan. So it's probably better to find the keys, but again, you might not get that chance.
As you said, we actually had a really good game plan going, because obviously we would have completed that, which means we would have had to survive 5 rounds, but we were also collecting those keys. So in those 5 rounds, we could have easily just carried on searching for keys and got out.
And yeah, like I said, the main, if you get the 5 keys, then you have to exit through the main hall on the map. But if you discover enough and find the secret map, then you can escape the other end of the castle as well.
To be fair, we did. We actually had the secret map.
No. We chucked it. We chucked it because we were like debating which do we build up our defense, because we knew you were OP as hell.
Yeah.
Or go for the secret map. And then no, secret map got binned in the end. So we took a chance with that and obviously failed.
Did you like the way that I lulled you though into burning up your pistol shot?
Yes.
And then I was like, right.
And then you're like, right, now I'm doing it again.
Yeah. And I'm going to use the much more powerful card on the second attack once you've shot the ammo off.
Yep.
Exactly.
Played it well, mate.
But again, I kind of almost like Anne said earlier, you can't actually hurt the killer. the weapons that you can discover, they just boost your defense.
Yes, that's all it does. Literally it does.
Like a good horror film, it's like you can unload...
You can shoot the killer, but he's getting up.
You can unload that revolver, but you'll miss every time.
Yeah.
And you just make him duck back into the shadows.
Yeah.
No, very, very good. So that I've got no more pros that I particularly want to highlight. Have you guys got anything extra that you really liked about the gameplay?
No, so say, just if you're a horror fan, then this is definitely very thematic for you. Okay. So most definitely.
Cool. So any cons that you had from the game at all?
Yeah, just the one I had earlier about that specific character with a specific card. It kind of OPs the radio mechanic part.
Yeah, because I think, if I remember correctly, I can't remember the name of the character, but if the character has a toolbox, he can fix the radio twice in one go. And
if he does it with something else, he has an ability to do it again as well. So it's 3 out of 5 in one go.
Yeah.
And if the killer's playing as a butcher, then he's not going to get there in time enough to do it. No. So I think that's a bit of a downfall for me on that, as well as the translation on some of the cards. We were trying to well, what does that mean, sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that, it's still based on that discovering the cards and trying to find the toolbox for that character.
But then,
however, there's quite a few toolboxes in that stack of cards.
But this is where I'm going back to what I was saying about the evil, easy, medium, and hard.
Yep.
So that character would be good for going against the murderer.
I was going to say. I was going to say that it's like it would be very interesting to, because I personally think that character just in general is OP.
Yeah.
From when we played him, he's got that ability, but he also has the ability to carry 6 items instead of 3, like every other character.
And again, because we never played the murderer, I had that ready for this episode to say bad about it, but I've kind of balanced it out now with saying we've played this guy now. Now, actually, it might be beneficial to be this character when you play the murderer.
See, we deliberately, when we were picking our characters last night, we said, no, he's OP as hell. We don't want to play him.
Yeah.
However, if we had have done...
We would have done it.
We probably would have done it a lot quicker.
I'd be interested to see how... I don't know, though, because the second he's on the board... I don't know about either of you two, but playing as the killer, it's like I'm camping by that radio.
Yeah, well, that's what I did.
That's what Jason did.
I pinned him in the room and just started attacking him.
But that was another thing we've got to mention, that the killer can put borders up.
Yes.
To stop you getting in there.
That doesn't work with the the murderer because he's only got the level 4 ability to do it once.
Yeah.
And with that character, it's like, okay, so you board him in the room. That's not exactly a good strategy for the guy who's fixing the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, he can't get out. But
but it's more that, you want to stop him from getting out, just so that you can, guess what? I know who's in this room. I'm going to search. Oh, I'm attacking you. I'm going to search again. I'm attacking you.
Yeah. I mean,
the likelihood that they'll survive those 2 attacks will be very, very minimal.
Yeah. It's just sort of like, I know personally, it's like I would not be able to not. Yeah. If I was playing as the killer, it's like, oh, you're playing as that character.
I'm going to be around there the whole time. Yeah. Yeah, you would. As soon as you know
100%
the way the players work.
I mean, that does also lead on to a point, though, that if you were smart survivors, you'd use him as a dummy.
Yeah.
You'd pick him and then go searching for the keys.
Yeah. You do that, but obviously, as we found yesterday, we kind of dumped him in a room and you found him. It's like, well, ultimately, he was a dummy, but we lost because you killed him.
Yeah. So, I mean, your mistake there was not moving her. Yeah. You should have just been, even if you had no plan for that particular character, you should have always been, she's moved. Yeah. No. She's moved. She's just aimlessly wandering the house.
We were using her as the person to find the keys because she was camped in a room to find the keys.
She doesn't create noise. So, yeah.
Well, in which case, my suggestion for a next strategy is you should have her circulating.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
I think we probably would.
Basically, so that you can't, or it's harder for the killer to happen upon her.
We'll make note of that, murderer.
Yeah.
See, look, I'm a good murderer. I'm giving you game plans now.
Game plans now.
So yeah, I think really we've talked about the majority of things that I would raise as potential cons. A couple of them aren't anything to do with the game. It's more the mechanisms that cause it. The sort of, as you said, the problems with hidden movement games, and with the killers being all different, and then having to be experienced players to know what those things mean and not have to ask questions, because it does problematically change the game. But other than that, I'm pretty solid on the game. I've got very few negative things.
No, yeah, most definitely.
That I can say.
I'd agree with that. It's like like we've said before, it's like it's not an inherent problem with the game. It's a problem with hidden movement.
Yeah,
things is they're quite hard to teach new people because you can't see what the other person's doing.
Yeah, and I think because the first time we played this, obviously, Ant, you played as the killer.
I was the butcher first time. Yeah.
Makes perfect sense because if it had been one of us, we wouldn't have had a Scooby-Doo what we were doing, and it would have caused untold problems. But once we played the game, knew how the game worked on the survivor side, it then made that transition over to being a killer far easier.
As I say, you can't really have a judgment on this game yet until you've done both sides.
100%.
So
yeah,
I almost feel like to teach this game properly, you actually need someone who's played it before to sit out.
Yeah,
on the side. So who's not playing the game, because then they can go between both sides and answer
I mean, it's
questions.
not fun for said person, but it would be the best way to do it, I guess.
But if you're trying to get a group of people into it for the first time, it's not a bad idea. Like a games club or something.
Yeah,
maybe,
exactly. It's the kind of game that would be perfect for us running it again.
Especially if you're going to play it multiple times with people switching roles. It's like, okay, so for the first player, I don't mind sitting at the side and teaching the game, because we're going to play it another 2 or 3 times. So then I'll jump in once you guys are going to hang of it.
And talked about seeing this game at Essen. Was that basically what they were doing? You had them running the game.
Yeah, you had the guys from Ice Makers there, like literally teaching them as they were playing. Like James says, they were going there both sides and whatnot, just telling them what to do and how it's done. So
spot on, really. It's a perfect way to teach the game.
As you guys played the Survivors for the first time, was you intrigued or how differently the killer would play compared to the survivor at all, or did it make you want to be try the killer straight off at all or anything like that?
I definitely wanted to try the killer because it just seemed like it'd be far more my type of game.
Yeah.
When it comes to hidden movement games, I'm quite good. I refer back to when we first played Beast at how quickly I managed to track you.
Yeah.
Because it's just something I inherently have been able to pick up very quickly.
I only ask because I know there's people or players out there that would just prefer to be the survivors or the hunters or whatever it is. Yeah.
I would happily play both. Yeah. I've enjoyed my time as both. I would say, weirdly, I think I'd say I enjoyed my time more from a gameplay aspect playing as the survivors, but I enjoyed my time more overall as playing as the killer.
Yeah.
Just purely because it felt far more strategic and I actually had to plan my turns, because obviously with the killer you're doing multiple things.
Yeah.
Whereas, as I said, with the survivors, it's like, well, I'm doing one thing. There's not really a lot of thought process here.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Jason on that one.
Yeah.
Which one did you get the theme out of more?
Definitely the killer.
I'm vice versa. I felt like I got more of the horror movie side of it playing as the survivors.
Okay.
Like I said, when you're going back into the stealth part, and making me feel like a bit uneasy about it, I think that's where my love for this game comes in. What I feel like I'm getting more out of the theme of it.
I feel like I might need to go and see a shrink then, because it's just like, hang on a minute, I'm getting more out of the theme of being a killer.
Yeah. I mean,
well, we might have to put those blob tests on you. You're like, what do you see in this picture, James?
No shocker here. I 100% got the theme more
from the killer. Yeah. I say every player is different at the end of the day. So
again, and it was more from the whole hidden movement aspect of it, because it's like, no, I'm a killer. I want to go and kill people. I'm not going to inherently know where they are. So I am hunting for them. And I definitely felt like, well, the order that I do these cards is definitely, important, because if I do this, then I can't search over here. And if I'm not searching, what the hell am I doing as a killer? So it just felt a bit more immersive playing as the killer. However, that's not to say that the whole game was less immersive.
No, not at all.
I definitely felt, as you say,
the pressure
side of a horror film or a horror story or whatever it is. The pressure is definitely there as a survivor. And, it leads me nicely on to whether it was an enjoyable experience. I'm pretty sure I've been pretty obvious about it. I really enjoyed the game.
Yeah, so did I.
In both circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And we've still got expansions to play yet as well, so...
Yeah, see, I'm really looking forward to the expansions, because obviously everything we've talked about is base game. There's a lot in this game, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff in that box.
There's a lot. I mean, it's a fairly big old box. It's a Nemesis-sized box. It's got a board game insert in it, 100%. It's really, really nice insert of that.
And I paid the same as Planet Unknown for that.
I was going to say, we will move on to move on to the value here, because at the time of recording, you can't actually buy this game at retail. However, it is going to be going to retail. Just hasn't quite arrived yet. So there's no current pre-order prices for it, so I can't tell you the exact prices. However, I did have a look at the Kickstarter. On the Kickstarter, it was £61 for the base game. So I guess we can approximate a price by saying you've got to add on VAT and that for the UK. So you're looking at 70 to 75, I reckon, for when this goes to retail. So on that assumption, somewhere between 65 and 80 pounds, James, do you think that it is worth its money, and does it have enough replay value?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes on both. It's got, as we said, not overly detailed, but detailed enough miniatures, plus that whacking great punchboard screen in it. I would say there is enough stuff in this box to justify that price.
Yeah. And obviously the play value.
As for replayability, you've got, 5 characters in the base game for survivors, plus the 3 killers. There's enough replayability in there.
Yeah, exactly. And you're talking about the miniatures included in the game. You've got 6 miniatures of the killers, and then the 5 miniatures for the thing. So there's 11 miniatures in there. That's pretty good. It's quite a bit. I mean, 11 miniatures in Games Workshop, that's what, 20, 30 quid? Mm-hmm. So just in miniatures, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah. And not to mention your inserts and everything in there as well.
Exactly, yeah. What's your feelings on it?
Well, I'm not going to be biased because it's my game, but yeah, of course, it's definitely bang for your buck. Mirroring what James said about the screen in the middle. Even though it looks intimidating to set up, it's not. It's less than 5 minutes normally.
Yeah, really quick setup, yeah.
Like I said, the inserts inside help you a lot with the tokens and stuff, because you've got a tray for your survivors, you've got a tray for your killers, and then you separate tray for your minis, as well as the dice tower as well included. It's just, I think it's a banger of a deal, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think there's more in that than other certain games that we played for the same price. Let's face it, let's put it that way, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it's irony that you brought up the game, because I was going to do a direct comparison, because it's the most recent game that we've reviewed at the same sort of price point, which was, of course, Planet Unknown. And we didn't speak particularly positively over its cost. And this game kind of proves why.
Yeah.
Because for the same price, I've got miniatures, I've got a massive 3D building, I've got multiple game boards, I've got lots of card stock, I've got really nice dice, and
you've got your bunch of tokens as well. You've got, like I said, you've got engraved dice, you've got your dice tower as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the thing that people brought up, and I'm going to say this in all seriousness without irony, is with Planet Unknown, it was, the Lazy Susan.
That's where the cost went. Yeah, 100%.
And I would say there is the same amount of vacuum formed plastic in those two
the inserts,
miniature inserts. The only difference is
doesn't spin.
Is the Lazy Susan's got a pin to make it spin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's definitely far more value in product
in
this box, definitely
100%. So it's definitely got its value there. And when you factor in the replay value that we've talked about here, just all of that factored in, is it worth the 70? I'm even saying, is it worth £80? I think it is. I would, if I was buying this game, having played it, and I was going to buy it, I think I would pay a maximum of £100 for this game, because I think there's enough value in there for £100. If it comes out more than £100, then I'm going to start asking questions.
Yeah.
But if it does go to retail, our estimated value of 70 to 80, I think you're bang for your buck when you buy this game.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
So, replay value, 100%. Value for money, 100%. It's worth your time and it's worth your money. So, obviously, last thing to talk about, recommendations and final thoughts. Ant, it is your game. Who would you recommend this game for? And your final thoughts on the whole thing as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone that loves hidden movements, I think I've played my fair share of hidden movement games. I'm probably going to have to say this is my new favourite. Fury of Dracula used to be my favourite.
Okay.
But the instruction booklet is convoluted and really annoying when you have to go back and check rules. This one I found easier to get with after our last play last night. Anyone that is a horror fan or horror movie fan, we forgot to mention that the survivors in this game are named after famous horror film directors as well, which is a nice little nod to it. So yeah, anyone who's a horror fan, anyone that loves hidden movement games, or anyone who's interested in hidden movement games, anyone who's a fan of Dead by Daylight, the video game, this is by far up your alley.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. James, thoughts?
I mean, as on the recommended front, I would absolutely recommend anyone play this game. regardless of your taste, it is a very fun game. You will get into it. As for who I'd recommend it to, I just have to see Ant's list.
Yeah,
I think you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah. So one very quick question before I give my final thoughts. What did you guys think to the playtime of estimated 30 to 45 minutes? Do you agree, disagree?
If it's like last night's game, yes.
Yeah.
I'd say 45 minutes with instructions.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You need like 45 to 50 minutes on your first playthrough, I think, when you're trying to work it out. But
Topping at about an hour.
Yeah, but yeah, once you get into the swing of it and you're used to it, I think 30 minutes is easily achievable.
Spot on. Nice. So yeah, my recommendations and final thoughts. The game is really easy to learn. It's seemingly quite easy to teach from what Ant said. I think it has, as I said, exceptional levels of quality. It doesn't outstay its welcome. I think I completely agree with the playtime on the box. I've even enjoyed a couple of times now where we've done multiple games in one evening.
No, most definitely, yeah.
That's really, really fun. I'm happy to do it over one after the other. And one thing I do want to say when it comes to my recommendations, because it says 14 plus on the box, I do think you can go lower. I think you can go 12, possibly 10. And the reason I say possibly is it is a horror themed game. However, it's not all blood and gore.
No,
in fact, there's none of it.
That's a good point, actually, because there's nothing like a blood smear or anything like that. There's nothing. Well, maybe like when you flip the player hit card, maybe. But apart from that, even the killer's cards aren't really threatening or anything like that.
They're quite tame, but still sticking with the thing.
And
right?
they're all within. The art's very animated comic sort of style, isn't it, really? Yeah. So it's not like it's straight out of a horror film or anything.
It's got miniatures in it. People are going to paint the miniatures. And
exactly.
I'm definitely one of them. If I was painting the miniatures in this, they would be absolutely covered in blood.
Of course.
So that's going to add to that sort of age rating, I guess. But
I'd say 10 plus for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could do it 10 plus.
Some of the artwork on the killer's cards, they've got a few examples on the back of the box. It may be stretching that age limit. I mean, they do have the red marks for the chainsaw is dripping blood. The murderer is coming out with blood on his knife.
Oh, actually, yeah, you're right. Negate that, guys. Negate what we just said there.
They're not terrible.
It's not like they're cutting people up or anything.
I would say they're still more cartoony, but there are, the ghost looks like she's streaking through a red mist cloud.
Yeah. The reason I say it is because normally when you think of a horror themed game, I think of you think 18 plus, right? Because that's what generally, if it's a horror film, it's going to be 18 plus. Yeah. Everything will be blood and guts everywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no actual depictions of people being dismembered or violently.
I sort of when I'm thinking of board games, I think of Kingdom Death Monster, where there's just actively it's very not safe for anyone under the age of 18. That kind of stuff. But I think it's fairly good. I reckon game wise, you could definitely play it with 10 plus. 12 is a possibility, is where I think the game should be rated, but I think 14 plus for security.
My daughter's heavily into horror stuff. She watches it, and she's only 10 now. She absolutely loves horror. I wouldn't have her an issue playing with this personally. So
again, who do I recommend it for? I recommend it for pretty much anyone that's into, as you said, the horror movies. Obviously, if it is an adaptation of Dead by Daylight, then that's definitely going to please some people. But I think I'm very, very happy with it. I think if you ever decided to sell it, I want you to come to me first.
It's fine.
So
I'm sure we can work out a few deals here.
I could. If you didn't own this, I could.
You probably would have got it.
This will end up in my collection, 100%. So there you go. Recommendations, big thumbs up for me. I'm giving it the 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
Excellent stuff. That's 2 thumbs up all around.
That's 6 thumbs up.
6.
Ching ching.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Winner, winner.
Winner, winner. Chicken dinner. And we are done for another
week.
Cool. So there we go. And done for another week, guys. How did you enjoy that episode?
Yeah, I hope the fans like what they listen to, and hopefully give TerrorScape a go.
Oh, hell yeah. Definitely give it a go. Definitely recommend that.
I might have to let you have it for the game club night and see if anyone wants to give it a go.
I think there's a few people.
I think there's definitely a few people who might uptake on that.
Yeah, there's a few people I'd like to play as the killer against as well, so I get that joy of killing them.
Anyone listening goes to the game club, go to the game club.
But there you go. I guess we should head off.
Let's head off then, guys.
Shall we head off? Thank you very much for joining us, guys. If you have enjoyed what you have listened to, you know what to do. All those social media things, they do like your attention. All the links will be in the podcast description. But until next week, I have been Jason.
I've been James.
And I have been Ant.
And you have been listening to the Meeple Minded podcast. Join us next week for more tabletop gaming goodness. Ta-ta and goodbye.